start. We are so glad that we have now 103 participants, and we're getting ready to get started. This is Charles Allen. I'm the district membership chair for District 7690, and I welcome each of you to this event today and say thank you for taking your time to log on. I'm going to ask District Governor Tommy Rosser to offer his welcome comments at this time. District Governor.
Thank you, Charles. Welcome, everybody. I'm really excited about this because a lot of good things are going to come out of this. I've had a couple of club visits, and they're all excited about some new ideas, and you're going to get some out of this summit that we're having for the next 4 weeks, one day a week. So we try to make it short, sweet, 30 minutes, so I'm not going to take a lot of time, but as we all know, membership is going to be our #1 priority this year. We've got to have it, and we've got to work on not just getting new members, but I need for everybody to work on retaining the members that we get and the ones that we have in our club now. So membership is a top priority. I hope everybody will enjoy this summit and take away from it something to go back to your clubs and build the clubs. I'm really excited. The 2 clubs I've been in so far, I mean, we're looking at probably a net 15 to 20 new members. So I'm really excited about this. So take good notes, enjoy yourself, and Charles and his team will do a wonderful job. Welcome, and I'm excited about this. Welcome to Team 2020 on membership. Thank you, Charles.
Thank you, Governor Tommy. We certainly appreciate you offering that welcome and your comments today. First, I'd like to give a brief overview of where we're going to go over these next 4 weeks in terms of looking at our membership summit. Today in session 1, we're going to have, if we get everything hooked together right, past District Governor Mary Berg, who will encourage us in ways to harness opportunities to enhance membership experience, attract new Rotarians, and be more adaptive. Next week, you'll hear on August the 11th at the same time station from a Area 11 membership advocate and immediate past president of the Crescent Rotary Club, Lisa Haslett, who will help us look at and consider ways to adopt membership engagement opportunities. Then on session 3 on August the 18th, Area Governor, Assistant Governor Ron Pierce, Area 11, will be sharing with us ways to embrace membership and looking at retention opportunities in particular. And then in session 4 on August the 25th, past District Governor John Spillman, even though he's from Georgia, will be sharing with us with the opportunities of membership types, club models provided for us by the Council on Legislation by Rotary in 2016 and 19, as well as new innovative club opportunities that are available for each of us today, and as we look at where we're going to go with Rotary for the future. I would remind you at the end of each session, we will email each of you that are in attendance a link for a resource folder that contains the documents needed to help you and your club leadership team formulate a club membership growth plan for your club for this year. And so as we look at where we are today, we're very privileged to have someone who is going to speak to us, Dr. Mary Berg, who is a member of the Rotary Club of Johnstown, Pennsylvania. She served as a district governor in 2008 and 9, same year. She and I were governor same year. A Rotarian since 2002. She's a frequent speaker and trainer in and around the Rotary world. And from 2012 to 2015, she served as a zone coordinator and as such assisted 15 districts in their membership and training options. As a practicing clinical psychologist, she has a vast knowledge of human behavior and motivation. It is for these reasons that we have asked her to speak to us today on the topic of creating membership opportunities in our COVID-19 world. I want to thank Dr. Berg for being with us today. And to set the stage for her comments, we're going to show you a video from Rotary International entitled Anytown. So I'm going to ask Patrick Eakes if he will cue that video up.
As Rotary, we often ask ourselves, how do we grow? Personally, professionally, and organizationally? The answer is simple. To grow Rotary, we need more Rotary clubs. Let's use Anytown as an example. Anytown is a city of 100,000 people and home to one proud Rotary club. But there are hundreds of other people of action, just like us, who are uniquely qualified to become Rotary members. They share the same drive and represent the values and fundamentals of a Rotary member. So why aren't they members? Well, the current club meets on Monday. There are leaders in Anytown who can't meet on a Monday. By excluding this segment, the potential members in Anytown has shrunk. Now consider, what if the meeting is at noon on Monday? There are people who can meet on Monday, but can't meet at noon. So now we have a smaller audience for Rotary in Anytown. Of the remaining group, some aren't interested in a club with a sit-down lunch and speakers. They are passionate about service, but aren't interested in a traditional club experience. And that is okay. The Rotary Club of Anytown isn't doing anything wrong. It just doesn't appeal to particular segments of the community. And if we're going to thrive for years to come, we must adapt and embrace change. In Anytown, we have an opportunity to expand because potential members are everywhere. More than half of the eligible people are prospective Rotary members, waiting to make a bigger impact in their community. But what Rotary Club exists for them? If Anytown creates new clubs at new times and new places, the hidden potential for Rotary will be revealed. As people of action, we must broaden our reach and provide opportunities to all leaders in the community. Together, all of us can grow Rotary.
Okay, well, I'm unmuted, so I'm going to assume that means I should talk. Can everybody hear me? Charles, give me a thumbs up. John, give me a thumbs up. Tommy, can you hear me? Patrick, all right, good. I saw that I got unmuted, so, well, you know me, I'm not going to miss the opportunity to take over the microphone. So, Tommy and Charles, thanks for inviting me. It's my pleasure. I have another Zoom meeting with Patrick, and I want you to know, Patrick, I just logged on thinking I was I was like, why am I the only one here? Getting my Zooms mixed up. So, but I'm ready. And today I really do want to talk about what opportunities we have in this strange new world we're all living in. Because I do think we still have a tremendous amount of opportunity to not only attract new members, but even I think more so to engage our current members in a whole different way. Some new ways and some old ways. I went hoping to refresh some of the old ways even in today's talk. So as we talk through this, I want you to think about internal and external. So internal would mean like, how can we better engage our members? And external would be, you know, how can we attract new people to our wonderful experience of Rotary. So be thinking about both of those things as we move through this talk today. And I'm using the platform of our strategic priorities, our 4 strategic priorities in Rotary for today's talk, because I really think that they are the vessel or the roadmap to the success of all things Rotary. They really are the again, the roadmap of where we need to go and how we're going to get there. So I'm going to guide you through the 4 strategic priorities, and we're going to be talking about membership based on those, each of those areas. So the first, of course, is increasing our impact. So when I began to think about this, I thought, okay, well, how can we seek out new ways to translate our expertise into making a difference. That's what increasing our impact, that's what RI wants us to understand about that phrase, increasing our impact. So how do we seek out new ways to translate our expertise as Rotarians so that we're making a difference in the world? And I began to think about how do we do that internally in our club with our members and externally to attract new members. So let's talk about external. So I know in the first couple months of COVID, it was really difficult to even meet for some clubs. I think a lot of clubs just sort of went, put the brakes on, and we all holed up in our houses and, we couldn't even figure out Zoom at first. So everything kind of came to a halt. So I'm wondering, who in your community or neighborhood did you have in the pipeline, let's say in April or March? Who was in your pipeline for potential membership? And did you, once you started meeting again on Zoom, because again, we went from frozen to then, all right, maybe we can do this online thing, to then like, oh, we got this, we're Zooming, and now we're hybriding, okay? We've got like 4 major stages of change in this COVID time. But have you gotten back to surfing your pipeline? I know in my region, there are a lot of clubs that have talked about, well, I was nurturing this person, and I was sort of coaching this person, and I had asked this person to a few meetings before. Have we gotten back on our surfboards? Are we back in the pipeline? Are we inviting those people back in to our hybrid meetings or our Zoom meetings at this time? So I want you to think about who your potential members were before all of this happened. You know what I mean by this? This will be my cue for COVID-19, this. How have you continued to work those relationships? Do you touch base with those people via email, via chat, via Facebook? Are you still sending them your newsletter? Do you still have a newsletter? If you were producing one before, are you still doing so? Are you still kind of trying to include some of those people in your Rotary? So one of the things that I would like to see us do better at this point is to invite and attend our Zoom meetings with those people who are in our pipeline. Now that most areas are sort of in the yellow to the green zones, we're allowed to do small, socially distant activities with each other, perhaps wearing masks or at least staying 6 feet apart. Wouldn't it be easy to invite 1 or 2 of those people over to your office to have lunch or coffee, to talk again, to have a Rotary chat, or to even sit with you while you watched your video Zoom meeting online? It'd be pretty easy, but I don't see a lot of people doing that. I don't see this sort of side-by-side effect of Zooming with people in the same room. So I'd like to offer that up as a way to, go back to the pipeline and get people thinking about Rotary again. The nice thing with having someone in the room while you're Zooming on Rotary is afterwards you can sit and talk about Rotary. You can sit and talk about, what is this polio thing that they talked about? What is this 4-way test? It gives you a great opportunity again to work that person into more of a sense of understanding what we stand for. And that's impact, in my opinion. Are we still watching for low-hanging fruit? Because it's still out there. The people that were ripe for picking for members are still ripe for picking for members. Are you still replying to every inquiry or notation about Rotary on your social media or otherwise? Or have you, again, sort of pushed some things aside? These are things I think we need to be thinking about because the people that were ripe for picking are still there. I think COVID got in the way, and we need to sort of push COVID out and say, let's get back to business here. Now, let's think internally about increasing our impact. So how does your club impact your members? Just think broadly. How does my club impact its members? Maybe personally, emotionally, maybe even financially. I know of 2 recent clubs that helped out a member in their club who was financially hit by COVID and unable to make their dues. And I know that there were personal Rotarians who reached out and helped pay their dues. Now, that is one way I would say a club has impacted a member. So, but it might even be, you know, vocationally or just friendship, just socially. How does your club impact its members? It's more than the value proposition, in my opinion. It's the connections that we make with each other that really impact us, that keep us in Rotary, that make me want to stay in Rotary and in my particular club. It's that deep level of connection. Now, I want to take you back to a time when there was no such thing as a computer. We had typewriters. My father had, we had two in our house at all times, two typewriters in our house. My father had his and my mother had hers. There was parchment paper. And my father's legal paper I could sort of see through it. It was neat. It was almost like an onion paper. And I want to introduce you to this. This is a pin. All right. I actually keep these around. They're very useful. And I also like the pencil. But I want you all to think about someone in your club who has not been attending lately because of COVID, either by Zoom or in person. Maybe you've gone back to hybrid and they're just not comfortable coming back. When was the last time that you used a pen to hand write a note to someone? A personal card, a missing you card. I just got one the other day, in fact, and it was a postcard, and I won't say who it's from, but that person's on this meeting. And I read it probably 3 times, and it is still sitting on my desk and will probably remain there for a long time, because what that person said to me had real impact. And because he used one of these, it made even more of an emotional impact on me. So thank you. You know who you are. And I think there's value in that. So I want you all to think about one person in your club that you need to write a letter to, a note to. Think of even a potential member maybe, but let's just talk about, you know, the fact that handwritten items are rare these days. And for me, I treasure them. I also have a letter that was written a couple years ago by a fellow Rotarian, and it's still on my board in my kitchen because of what he said to me and how I had made an impact on him in Rotary. And I probably will never throw it away. So, you know, the same also goes for a phone call, you know. Text and email and Facebooking is great. It's simple, it's quick, it's easy, it's efficient. But I think it's time we get back to some old-fashioned strategies for increasing our impact within our club by calling and talking to people, and and to not have a sales pitch either, just to call to say, hi, how you doing? I noticed you haven't been at the meeting. I just wanted to say hi and tell you I miss you. To send them a note. No ulterior motive, just to say even thank you for being a member, and your membership is valued even though you're not here, and we understand why you're not here, but we value you. So think old-fashioned when you think about internal impact, and think about being a good neighbor, finding out if there's anything more you can do for your members so that you know what impact they need. Okay, next point for the strategic priorities, expanding our reach, okay? So this means building connections and opportunities that will allow other people to share our drive and to do the same thing. So this is something I think we were doing really well prior to COVID-19. I think we were expanding our reach via social media really, really well. And again, first stage of COVID, we froze and all social media sort of stopped when it came to Rotary. And then we became activated again, and we started to understand and pivot a little. And we started to talk about, I think the most frequently Facebook thing I saw was photos of this, exactly what we're doing. Here I am at Rotary on Zoom. Here I am at Rotary on Zoom. Here I am at Rotary on Zoom. So that was sort of the second phase of saying, okay, we know how to do this. We were harnessing our social media to let the world know we could still operate, so to speak. But I think there's a better way now that we're comfortable with pandemic, we're comfortable with quarantine, we're comfortable with change, shifting up some things so that we are impacting people in a more relevant COVID manner, to deliver up a customer preference, so to speak, through our social media. To tell them that we are doing things related to the pandemic, to show that we are being people of action in this pandemic, that we're not just meeting on Zoom and having our personal tuna fish sandwiches from our living rooms, but we're actually still people of action. So it's time to reharness that social media and make it a direct mechanism for a more dynamic interaction with your community. So secondly, under expanding our reach, I'd like to ask each one of my members in an individual conversation, and this is on my kind of to-do list, what they want to do to have an impact on our community and in our world. When was the last time we asked our members individually, what do you want to do to have an impact? And I think this is especially crucial for newer members. To almost harness their drive and their passion as to maybe why they joined. And could this be an opportunity now where things are a little bit slower in Rotary? I feel like my club's a little slower right now. We're trying to do things, but we're not quite as activated. So this might be a good time for me to say to some of my newer members, so what's your passion? What do you want to do? How can I engage you? How do you want to have an impact not only in Johnstown, but in the world? When was the last time we did that? And again, even talking to some of our more seasoned members, when was the last time I asked someone who's been in the club 15 years, so what's your passion these days? How do you want to impact Johnstown? This is a conversation that needs to keep happening within clubs in order to expand our reach from within to without, to outer into our community. If my board continues to make the decisions, I may not really have the heartbeat of my members. So I think it's more important to keep the heartbeat of the members, not just your board and what they want to do. All right. COVID-19 certainly did shift all of our fundraising efforts and many of our projects that we had in the pipeline. A lot of things were just dropped, stopped, or put on hold. But again, I think we have an opportunity here to develop perhaps smaller projects that have a more immediate impact in our strange new world. That impact maybe people who are directly affected by COVID, perhaps donating to food banks, feeding the first responders, feeding the medical people, even having parades for the medical people. I saw that early on, but guess what? Those people are starting to be forgotten and drifting in the back. They're, starting to, again, sort of be forgotten. Isn't it time maybe to say, how do we still utilize COVID-19 as an opportunity for service? And are all of your clubs doing that? Again, this is a great conversation to have with club members. If you're not having a speaker at every single meeting, which I know some clubs are not, maybe that would be a wonderful way to engage the next meeting or the next couple meetings to say, what can we do right here in our own little town that would make our people who are most affected by COVID feel important, feel remembered, and to know that Rotary is still thinking about them and cares. So opportunity to definitely do some small projects that are very COVID related. And, as a reminder, when you're doing service for and with others, don't forget to connect on their social media network. I was talking with a friend of mine in Florida who actually had done, I think it was the fire department. They had fed the fire department. They had a very large fire department and they're a large club, so they could handle that. But instead of just posting on their Rotary website what they had done, they actually linked all of their media about this onto that fire department's website so that it was shared with the fire department's community, not their Rotary community. Because it's really not so important for us to share what we're doing with other fellow Rotarians. I mean, that's, preaching to the choir. It's basically, a better idea to share what you're doing with the community who would appreciate it more, the people who are direct recipients of it. So harness other people's social media networks, those who that you're giving to the most. Let's think in terms of barriers that were probably present prior to COVID. I think some of these have dropped. When I think about new members, one of our biggest barriers in Rotary is money and time, correct? Do you all agree with that? Money and time, right? Well, you know, this new hybrid club thing we're doing, this Zooming, doesn't take any money, does it, to be a member of Rotary now besides our dues? I'm certainly not paying for lunch here. And the time now is reduced sometimes by a matter of hours. So some people I know would drive a half an hour to get to their Rotary Club meeting and a half an hour back, and they would be there at least an hour. So we're talking 2.5 hours of their day. Now it's 45 to 55, maybe 60 minutes. So if we can remind some of the people who were in our pipeline that time and money may be less of a barrier now, that this is actually the time to get to know a club. So we can expand our reach by proposing that some of our previous barriers to membership are have been reduced. Okay, so let's move to enhancing participant engagement. So Rotary tells us that this is putting the needs and expectations and the growth of our participants at the center of everything we do. And I think this is absolutely essential to you know, what we've been talking about with the internal experience of being a Rotarian. And a recent study showed that 85% of customers in most businesses are frustrated by dealing with a company that does not make it easy to do business with them, and that 84% are frustrated by companies promising one thing but delivering another, and 58% are frustrated with inconsistent experiences from channel to channel. Now, this was a study that I read up on just general business. You know, it might have been automotive, it might have been sales, could have been anything. But when I read this study, I thought, huh, sounds a little like Rotary. 85% frustrated with the fact that we don't make it easy to do business with us. 84% frustrated because we promise one thing, but we don't actually deliver on that in our clubs. And 58 are frustrated because it's inconsistent, maybe week to week, club to club, event to event. So does that sound like your club? Or does it sound like a club that you know, perhaps, or something that you've experienced? And if it does, it's time to consider, how do we need to eliminate some of those hurdles? How do we need to become more consistent, easier to do business with as internal membership? And how do we promise and deliver what we promise? I think in my club, we have some work to do here as well. I think most clubs probably do. Maybe not all, but certainly a lot. So again, I started thinking about how do I, if I were in just my little club, how would I enhance participant engagement? How would I put the needs of all of my members first, at the center of everything I did? So first of all, I think I would respond to everything. Every email, every phone call, every Facebook, you know, even if it's someone just, you know, putting a comment on a Facebook post with my Rotary Club, liking it, responding back, thank you, you know, whatever. So they know they've been seen. See your members by responding to everything. I would read every email and reply. I'd follow up on Facebook and Instagram, especially if a comment came in that involved any kind of question. I would treat every comment the same as if it were a member calling me directly. So even a comment on Facebook or via email, as if I were having a phone call. And if I needed to make a phone call instead of just responding, I think I would do that. And it sounds like a lot of work, but I think it's worth it to respond to everything, because every point of contact or comment from your members is a chance to create an advocate and a stronger member. An advocate for your club and a stronger member. I also started thinking about just doing the obvious, human courtesy things. And again, some of this maybe has gone by the wayside because we, again, first phase of COVID was to stop, freeze, and to hole up. You know, we all started taking care of ourselves. And then we went into the phase of like, okay, adjust and pivot. And now we started thinking about our neighbors, and you know, around here we started doing food swaps where we left food on each other's doorsteps, you know, just for fun, to shake it up. We, you know, we're having little alleyway parties and things, you know. So we shifted from doing, you know, internal and staying safe to like, okay, I still care about you, you know, wanting to sort of touch people socially distantly, you know. So the obvious things, do things for your club members that you would do for your close family and friends. Post-pandemic, you'll be able to shake hands again. How cool will that be? I mean, I miss that. But even just saying hello, as I mentioned before, touching base with people, seeing how they're doing. There's some members that we just haven't seen in so long. I wonder, how are they doing? But who is calling them? Who is asking that question? How is not asking that question put them at the center of everything we do in our club? So it's not really just about you know, doing things for the first responders and feeding the hungry and supporting back to school supplies and all that. We need to do for our own people as well. I know it's service above self, but our members are at the heart of everything we do. So go back to the basics, do the obvious, reach out and touch someone, okay? And it bears repeating that it's easy for people to walk away from an organization, and it's easy for people to walk away from a business, but it's really hard to walk away from a person that you're connected to. So I think the deeper the connection and the more of the personal interaction that we have with each other and our organization's leaders, this goes out to all the governors and the chairpersons. The more I can connect with those people in leadership, the harder it is going to be for me to disengage. So think about your own level of engagement and how you can become more accessible. Recognizing your closest friends and holding them dear in life, and surprisingly, this is something we all do, but do we do it with our members? Do we hold them truly dear? Again, I think there's ways to let people know that you hold them dear. And one of the things that I came across in looking at what businesses are doing right now to enhance engagement in their businesses, and I saw several articles call it surprise and delight. And I just love that phrase. I want you to surprise and delight people. Pick a member, let's just say you pick someone once per week and you make their day in some way. And the club president could do this, or the membership chair. You might send a care package to someone as a surprise, something small, maybe even a small treat with a personal handwritten note. A very small investment. Maybe you've got someone in your club like me who likes to bake cookies but doesn't eat them. So I would be happy to bake cookies for people in my club and put them on their doorstep and just surprise and delight them to know that we're thinking about you, we miss you. And businesses are going at this like crazy right now since COVID happened. And it's just a small investment that instills pride. Now, I think we should go a step further with this. And in my club, we've decided to actually go to Russell Hampton and purchase some small things that say Rotary on them, and to surprise and delight some of our members with Rotary paraphernalia. Because when someone has the thing that they're, the coffee mug with the logo, I have glasses and wine glasses and mugs and t-shirts and like all kinds of just swag. When someone has Rotary swag, it truly does give them a greater and deeper level of appreciation for our organization. It makes them feel proud to be a part of this. So it's even better than the basket full of cookies if you can give them something that says Rotary on it. But again, let's try the surprise and delight. Okay, before I go on to the last one, does anybody have questions or comments? Because I'm talking a lot, and I know I have a very short period of time, but I just want to like breathe for a second and see if anybody has any questions. If so, just press your space bar and speak, and then we'll remute you.
Outstanding delivery.
All right, cool beans. I've got just a few more minutes if no one's got questions.
I guess I have a question. This is terrific stuff. Excuse me, but and I think you've identified many important predictors of folks' engagement. But I think there's something rather overwhelming right now, and that is that I think lots of folks are still caught back there and are really disengaged and do want to continue to isolate. So have no interest in engaging in anything but self-preservation. So if you could address that, I'd really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree. I think half of my club really has not come back to do anything besides isolate, and they're afraid to come to the meeting, and that's okay. In fact, I applaud them for taking care of themselves.
Or to do any community service too.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
right.
You know, when I'm giving a lot of talks on just how to stay sane in COVID-19, and one of the things that you can do, somebody asked me, well, how do you engage some of the folks who have to stay isolated, especially older folks who may not have children living with them or a spouse, and they're all alone? How do you engage someone who's really having to isolate themselves? I think one of the things that you can do is to ask them to engage in letter writing campaigns. And again, this goes back to old-fashioned business, but I would ask them to maybe be the birthday person, the anniversary person, the letter writing campaign person in a club, so that they have a new job that is going to require them to do something at least weekly. And you may not just use your own club members for this, but you may think about you know, maybe you have a list of the doctors in your local hospital, and every week you're going to send 5 of them and 5 nurses thank you notes. Maybe you want to send the fire department thank you notes, whatever it is, but they become the letter writer, they become the card greeter, that sort of thing. So they get a new job in Rotary that may be time limited, but that is COVID specific. I think we just have to really think creatively of what can you do when you're all alone and you need something to do. But again, I would also schedule with them, maybe even every 10 days, a Zoom meeting or a phone call, or even you know, I've gone to the people's porches and talked through the windows and things, just to let them know that you still care, that you are still thinking about them and you get it. I think even just that level of connection is going to remind them that their Rotarians care more about them than most of the people in their lives.
Right. Okay. Okay.
All right.
All right. All right.
So, and on that note, increasing our ability to adapt. So that's what this is all about. We need to seek fresh opportunities to create more paths to leadership and to open up our conversations to more diverse voices, and simplify how we operate with confidence. Now, and I say with confidence because I know in the beginning, nobody had confidence that A, we were going to get through this. You know, is Rotary, what's going to happen to our meetings? B, can we really do Rotary on Zoom? Oh my gosh, how is that going to work? And C, will we ever come back to some sense of normalcy? And you know what? We are absolutely succeeding at this. I go to club meetings every single day and speak, and I have been to inductions of new members. I see guests at a huge majority of club meetings. So there is if you can think it, we can do it. So I really want to encourage you to think about that this is not a time for failure. This is not a time to just sit back and go, okay, we'll start meeting again when we're totally green and we got a vaccine. No, this is a time to say, this is an opportunity to pivot, and we can do this with confidence. Even if it means half of our members are there, you know what? We'll still go strong. We'll still do what we can, because that's what Rotary does. We don't give up. We are tenacious people, and we care enough to keep going. Now, being able to adapt, I think the Zoom has actually given us amazing opportunity. For instance, I have done almost 100 meetings now, speaking to almost 100 clubs on COVID and staying sane, being that I'm a psychologist. I could have never done that in 4 or 5 months in my real life. I've been all the way to Kenya, for heaven's sakes, to give that talk. You know, all because of this thing called Zoom. So Zoom actually allows us to get better speakers, to get speakers we never dreamed of having, to get speakers who we wanted to have, but they live too far away. So this interesting part of COVID is that it's creating some unusual opportunities that are going to be good for our clubs. I don't think there are going to be many clubs that go back to not offering a Zoom portion or allowing their members to attend via Zoom. I think the hybrid, partially Zoom and partially in person, is going to be our future. And okay, so be it. But here's what we have to do next. So we're going to be much more technological. So that means we have to adapt to the technology. That means you'll need good computers, excellent microphones, the ability to hear and be heard. It's kind of important in Rotary, especially when you're doing this. Movable cameras. They have these cameras that pivot, that follow the speaker. These are very inexpensive things, but we have to start thinking about this. All of this is affordable for many clubs, not all, but for many. But even more so, you'll need someone who understands it or who's willing to learn about this technology. It is simpler than it seems, but I think we all need to, if we can afford it and can adapt in this way, we need to be responsible about how we move forward with our technology. Let's see, advocacy programs. So I think it's important to think about how in our clubs we have people who are champions for membership. Champions, when I first joined, they were called the closers. And I haven't heard that term in a long time, but it was I got invited in by person X, but they made sure to sit me next to person Y because they knew if I got to know person Y, that person Y would close the deal. I call these people champions or advocates now for membership. They're the people who are enthusiastic enough to be passionate and pull people in, but not so much that it's scary. And they're like, oh God, drink some more of the punch, crazy person. You know, so it's that someone who's got good balance, who's not going to be saying the wrong things like, oh, when are you going to join our club? I see you're here for the first time. That's not how we do it. Remember that. It's the persons that you sit next to who are great advocates for Rotary and membership and who are the champions of Rotary. These are your highly engaged members, the people who, yes, they eat it, drink it, and sleep it, but they also know how to balance their conversation. So think about who in your club might be that person and consider how you can incorporate them in your Zoom meetings. Perhaps at every Zoom meeting, maybe they have a new title, like a new job. And also, you know, when they're in person, how do you engage them at each meeting? They are even a better term would be defenders of our brand. You know, they're the ones who get it, and there are super users of Rotary. And there are, in the business world, super users are businesses really prized assets. And if you have a super user in your club that isn't really engaged in some way, like with a job, just remind them that they're important to you. I know I use certain products all the time, and every once in a while, sometimes I'll get something in the mail that I didn't order from that company, but it's because I order from them so much that I get like this bonus thing because I'm a super user. And so they'll send me something for free, and it's so cool. It's like, oh, look what I got. You know, it probably didn't cost them much at all, but think about how you can you know, just praise your super users and give them important jobs so that they feel connected and valued during this weird time. Okay, I'm going to open it back up for any more questions. I probably am out of time, but I'm not really sure how this works. So anybody have questions or even other best practices that you'd like to share with the group? Because I'm sure I only hit on some of them. again, best practices for what you're seeing that's working during COVID-19 and pandemic strangeness, things that are working in your club maybe that I
Mary?
didn't touch on.
Hi, this is Dick O'Donnell from the Alamance Club. One of my friends just created this saying touching base postcard, okay? And it's just a simple postcard that says, haven't seen you for a while, whatever, and maybe put the Rotary logo on it or something like that, that just touching base. And it's, 35 cents or something like that.
Hold that up again. I want to see it nice and full. Oh, a little bit back up. There you go. Oh my God, that's so cute. See, that's cool. 35 cents and postage. I mean, this is what we need to be doing. With the postage, okay.
37 cents. So.
See, that's a great idea. I mean, there are members that I know we haven't seen in months. They need that postcard. Cool beans.
You were mentioning the things that individuals might like to do and what their projects are. And one of my projects has been this book in which the first lead chapter is Rotarian capitalism. And we use the full-way test to try to illustrate ways that capitalism can help bridge the divides that we've had in income equality and deal with some of the excesses of capitalism by making it Rotarian capitalism.
I love it. And see, if you were in my club, because it's your passion, I'd want to know more about that. I'd want to know why it's important to you and how, your experience is just as important as what I want to do. So of course I would want to promote that. That just makes sense. It's our club, it belongs to all of us. It's not the board's club, it's the members' club.
Thank you,
One
Mary.
of the things that I was going to comment on is that you can see the number of people, including myself, have backgrounds, virtual backgrounds for Rotary. Mine's a People of Action photo of the Rotary Club of Alamance walking trail. We moved here just recently from Montana, but our daughter lived here, so I would frequently come out and visit her, and I'd walk my dog in that park and see that sign frequently. So that was one of the first things I did when we moved here, was take a picture of the sign and make a People of Action photo. So the reason I'm mentioning this is membership recruitment. That virtual background is on my screen when I'm not on a Rotary Zoom, but on a business Zoom meeting. So think about that, or maybe just a Rotary paraphernalia in the background. Let's see, a couple of banners and things like that. So get people to, oh, you're for a Rotarian. What can you tell me about it? And then the important thing is to have your elevator speech.
Yeah.
So you have just a few minutes to engage them. And what I like to say is that it joins leaders to share ideas to take action. So that's the elevator speech.
It's a perfect one, isn't it? I'm glad Rotary thought that one up. The pen, I got my blazer off now because my house is hot as heck, but I always have my pen on every day, no matter what. I love the idea of the transform background. That's a lovely idea, and I'm going to create that. This is what I'm talking about when I said, never miss an opportunity to talk about Rotary or to share your Rotary experience with anyone. These are all opportunities all day long now that we're online all day long. Thank you.
Thank you very much,
Well,
Dr. Berg. We really appreciate you sharing today. What an excellent presentation. And thank you for those 116 of you that have stayed on and are staying with us right now. And we thank you for that opportunity. I want to appreciate, again, for each of you being with us today. Please remember that you will get a new registration link for session 2 coming out to you tomorrow, and be on the lookout for that. So if you haven't registered already, please do that. But if you have registered, thank you. We really appreciate you doing that. So that'll come out to you. And we really appreciate each of you being here today, and thank you for this opportunity to, again, think about Rotary and where we can go. And Dr. Berg, you've really given us a lot of good thoughts here. You made me rethink a lot of areas where I'm missing out some opportunities. So I really appreciate that. But we do look forward to seeing each of you next week. Thank you for your attendance, and we want to respect your time. We were a little over, but hey, these have been great ideas, and I hope you'll take them all back and make them your ideas, and let's put them all together and make Rotary a new Rotary as we go forward in this new virtual world that we'll continue to increase Rotary, not just maintain. And we again thank each of you for being with us today, and hope you have a great evening and a great week, and we'll see you next week. Thanks, Dr. Berg.